The dink in pickleball is one of the most important shots because if you can't dink, you can't play at a higher level and you can't win rallies. By the end of this video, you're gonna learn how to dink, you're gonna learn the keys to successful dinking, and you're gonna learn how to practice even if you don't have someone to hit with. Let's get into it. Your goals with every dink are twofold. You want to hit an unattackable shot, so that means you're hitting a shot over the net in such a way that it can't be hit down on or it can't be sped up. And the second goal with your dinks are to set up some type of error, maybe force your opponents to make an error or force your opponents to pop the ball up so that you can put it away. All right, if you're watching this and you're completely new to the game, no worries. Before we get into the actual step-by-step of how to dink, it's really important just to get a feel for your paddle, get a feel for hitting the ball. And what I like to do a lot of times with new students is just volley the ball on your paddle 10 times and just try and get 10 in a row. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I found is this is a good exercise for getting a feel for the ball on your paddle, get a feel for the paddle in your hands, and also get a feel for your hand-eye coordination and see just how many can you go. Now that you've got a feel for hitting the ball, let's talk about your grip. Your grip is critical to your success with dinks and with really all of your shots. And the grip I would suggest, especially if you're starting out, is called the continental grip. And the way you do this is you hold the paddle out like you're gonna shake somebody's hand, and then you grip the paddle like you're shaking someone's hand, and that essentially is the continental grip. It's also called the hammer grip. I'll show it from this angle. So handle, you grip it, and it's almost like you could hammer a nail with it. A more technical way of knowing if you're in continental grip is your base knuckle of your pointer finger is lined up with the notch, the second notch on your paddle right here. So whenever you're gripping the paddle, your pointer finger base knuckle here is going to be resting on this notch right here. All right, now that you're set in continental grip, the next thing you want to focus on is your grip strength. And really what that means is how tightly you're holding the handle on your paddle. And when you're dinking, it's important to have a 3 to 4 out of a 10. And you're not gonna get this right straight out of the gate, but it's important to be thinking about your grip strength and to experiment with it as you dink, because this will play a huge effect in how high you hit the ball off of your paddle. So a few tips on this. If you're going to be gripping it around 3 or 4, imagine like you're putting toothpaste on your toothbrush, because if you're putting toothpaste on your toothbrush, you're not gonna squeeze it 10 out of 10. You're not gonna be putting a death grip on it. All the toothpaste would come out. Instead, you're gonna just slightly squeeze on it, and that's about the same grip strength that you're gonna have on your handle. Now, if you're dinking and you feel like, man, I'm really popping it up, I need to loosen it up, and it's hard, I would suggest just taking maybe the bottom 3 fingers off of your paddle and try experimenting hitting the ball like that. And that's not for end game, that's really just to get a feel for loose grip strength of 3 or a 4 out of 10. And lastly, what I'd say about grip strength is once you've got a good handle on your paddle and you feel like you've got a good grip strength of around a 3 or 4, a good way to test that is you can tap on your paddle, on the side of your paddle, and you will feel a little bit of give. So right now I'm about a 3, and I can feel like it's giving a little bit whenever I tap on the sides. Now if I'm holding at 10, it's very stiff and rigid, and you don't want to be that way whenever you're dinking. All right, now that you've got your grip set, let's talk about how you actually hit the ball and how you swing. So when you make contact with the ball, you don't want to be moving your wrist or breaking your wrist. You don't want to be moving your arm independently. What you want to be doing is using your shoulder to hit the ball. And what it's called is a pendulum swing, just like this, because it looks like one of those pendulums that you would see in physics classes. So when you're at the net, you're at the non-volley zone, you're dinking, your arm, your wrist are stable, and all of the motion is coming from your wrist. You're hitting the ball from low to high. And just to get a feel for it, I would practice this motion even if you're not on the court. It's a lot like cornhole when you're throwing the beanbag, but it's continuous, it's smooth. Your arm and your wrist are stable. And when you hit the ball, you're hitting the ball from low to high, just like that. Give you another look here. Another reason why it's important to use your shoulder as the source of your shots and your dinks is because it's the source of your consistency. If you were to use your wrist or your arm, that motion's going to be inconsistent. In the same way that a door uses its hinge to stay consistent and to open and close that way, your shots are going to use the hinge of your shoulder as the source of consistency. That way you can have the same motion and the same shot over and over and over again. Lastly, let's talk about what you should be doing when you're not dinking, and that's called the ready position. What that looks like is when you're at the non-volley zone, you're dinking, what you should be doing is holding your paddle up in the ready position like this, just about chest high, and you want to have the paddle up and ready just in case a pop-up comes or maybe a speed-up comes. A lot of times what I like to do is I like to shade my paddle just a little bit to my backhand. That way I can use my backhand to defend a shot or to block a shot. But when you're not dinking, be sure to be in the ready position, paddle up and ready for a speed up or an attack. All right, if you're watching this at a court somewhere, maybe you're wanting to practice, go ahead and hit pause and practice those elements that we just talked about before we get into the keys to success.
Before we get into the next tips for dinking, I want to give you a free gift that will help you level up your game over the next 30 days. It's called The Path to Better Pickleball, and it includes 10 step-by-step videos along with a downloadable skills guide. This will help you continue your development with dinking, but it will also help you with your serve, your third shot drop, and so much more. Thousands of players have already joined, and it has really helped their game, and it can help yours too. All you have to do to gain access is click the link in the description. It's completely free.
Now let's talk about the keys to success with dinking. Really what these are about 5 tips that are evergreen, bulletproof tips that are going to help you level up your dinking every time. The first tip is to keep your eye on the ball. You would be surprised at how many people across multiple levels take their eye off the ball just before they hit it, and how many errors that actually causes. So when you're dinking, the way that looks is you're watching the ball all the way to your paddle and then off of the paddle. And it's very consistent. You're gonna stay focused, stay locked in on that ball, because if the moment you take your eye off that ball, that's going to lead to errors. The second key to success with your dinks is to keep the ball out front. So what that looks like is when you're dinking, you're not going to let the ball bounce behind you, because if it were to bounce behind you and you were to hit the ball like that, you're going to be hitting it off balance and it could just lead to a host of problems. Instead, you're going to hit the ball out of the air or keep the ball out front. And so when you're dinking, keep the ball out front, either with your backhand or your forehand. The third key to success is to respect the net. And what that looks like is you're hitting the ball and giving it just enough lift to where it's not going to hit the net. You're not flirting with the net, but you're giving plenty of space over the net. That way it can go over and not into the net. So what that looks like is you're dinking, you're gonna give it plenty of space over the net. And this is across all levels. You want to respect the net. You want to make sure that you give the ball plenty of space over the net. Otherwise, you could lead to errors. You could lead to hitting the net or hitting it into the net. The fourth key to success is to dink in such a way that the ball peaks or hits its apex on your side of the net. So when you hit the ball, you don't want it to peak on your opponent's side of the net, because that type of trajectory could be attackable. That means they could hit it out of the air, speed it up at you, or even the ball could bounce high and they could speed it up that way. Instead, you're going to hit the ball, it's going to peak on your side and then begin falling on your opponent's side. This isn't something you're gonna get perfect out of the gate. It's actually something that can be pretty hard to do, but it's one of those guidelines, it's one of those keys to success that's going to keep you successful in your dinking. That way you can focus on it, improve it over time. The fifth key to success is to dink with a purpose. And really what that means is you're not just going to hit it directly to your opponent. That's not good enough. You want to hit the ball in such a way that you hit it with intention, and the intention is to force your opponent to make an error, so to pop up the ball or to create an opportunity for your team to attack the ball and hit down on it. So really what that looks like is to dink maybe to your opponent's backhand if they have a weak backhand, hit it to your opponent's feet. That's always a really good place to hit the ball, or to hit the ball to the middle between your opponents to force them to decide who's actually gonna hit the ball. All of those things are intentional, and it's creating opportunities for you that could either be, maybe it means your opponents make an error, or maybe they pop it up and that you can attack it. Let's say you wanna practice your dinks, but you don't have somebody to dink with, or maybe you don't even have a court close to you, close to your house. You can bring all that to you just with a wall, a surface you can hit the ball off of. And just to keep this very real, I'm here at my house, and I'll show you exactly what I did and what you can do. So here, I don't know if you can really see it, but I have tape. I've taped 36 inches high right there, and just a few inches above that just to give me kind of a target. This represents the net, and this just represents the margin that I want to give with my dinks over the net. And then right here, I have taped the kitchen line. So it's just 7 feet from the net, and that emulates the kitchen line. So that's where I'll be standing and dinking. You don't necessarily have to stand there to practice, but it's just a good guideline. Starting a little high, and then I'm gonna bring it down and then start practicing getting it over the net, working on my motion, staying consistent. Oh, that one was below the net. And then you can start dialing it in. This surface is actually a little bit tougher, but it's still good practice. Once you get a good feel for just straight on dinks, then you can mix it up and maybe dink and move a little bit, dink and step, and just work on your footwork. Is it a perfect setup? No, not really, because this is a hardy board wall. It's gonna bounce inconsistently, but you're gonna get some really good reps. You're gonna get a lot of reps and some really good practice with your dinks. And it's gonna be better than not practicing.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this or if you learned something new, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another update from High Five Pickleball. Thanks for watching.